Okay, so yesterday we have did a review of what we have covered in the right intention of renunciation, and then the intention of goodwill. And today we are going to dive into the third kind of right intention, which is the intention of harmlessness. So this is the second one, and the third one is here, the intention of harmlessness. We will see what it is and then how it can complement to loving kindness. The intention of harmlessness is thought guided by compassion, karuna, aroused in opposition to cruel, aggressive, and violent thoughts. Compassion supplies the complement to loving kindness, whereas loving kindness has the characteristic of wishing for the happiness and welfare of others. Compassion has the characteristics of wishing that others be free from suffering. A wish to be extended without limits to all living beings. Like metta, compassion arises by entering into the subjectivity of others. By sharing their interiority in a deep and total way. It springs up by considering that all beings, like ourselves, wish to be free from suffering. Yet, despite their wishes, continue to be harassed by pain, fear, sorrow, and other forms of dukkha. So let me see if we can define interiority here. The quality of being interior or inward. Okay, who would like to read the second paragraph? How about Esther?
To develop compassion as a meditative exercise, it is most effective to start with somebody who is actually undergoing suffering, since this provides the natural object for compassion. One contemplates this person's suffering, either directly or imaginatively, then reflects that, like oneself, he or she also wants to be free from suffering. The thought should be repeated and contemplation continually exercised until a strong feeling of compassion swells up in the heart. Then, using that feeling as a standard, one turns to different individuals, considers how they are each exposed to suffering, and radiates the gentle feeling of compassion out to them. To increase the breadth and intensity of compassion, it is helpful to contemplate the various sufferings to which living beings are susceptible. A useful guideline to this extension is provided by the First Noble Truth with its enumeration of the different aspects of dukkha. One contemplates beings as subject to old age, then as subject to sickness, then to death, then to sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, and so forth.
Thanks, Esther. So, firstly, let's define enumeration. The action of mentioning a number of things one by one. Any more difficult words here? Okay, I think this paragraph is, it asks us to start with somebody who is actually undergoing suffering. So these people are natural objects for compassion. So we can imagine directly or imaginatively. Like the one we did with Metta, that he also wants to be free from suffering, he or she. Then afterwards, using that feeling as a base, as a standard, one turns to different individuals, consider how they are exposed to suffering, and radiates the gentle feeling of compassion out to them. And then if we want to increase the breadth, the intensity of the compassion, we can contemplate the various sufferings to which living beings are susceptible. What is the guideline? We can use the first noble truth. So all beings are subjected to old age, subject to sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair. So one way that I usually do this is when I read the news, sometimes there is, especially since these COVID times, the numbers of cases and also the numbers of death. Yeah, this is one way you can read or observe people suffering in the news. Firstly, from sickness of COVID, and secondly, when they inevitably succumb to their sickness and then they have to face death. And it doesn't have to be limited to COVID, but there can be various ways people face suffering as well. And one thing that's quite memorable was just a few months back, I think someone was running across a park and then a tree just suddenly falls to her. It's a very big tree, and then she's unable to get out of it, and then she eventually dies because of the trees falling. So that was a very unfortunate tragedy. Yeah. So you can try it if you want, see the papers and then see various ways people are suffering, not just in Singapore, but maybe you can start in Singapore first, then you can start to explore all around the world how people are suffering. On that note, any question or comments? How do you usually contemplate compassion, and how do you usually observe the suffering of beings? Okay, Stinghui.
As we were just reading the passage just now, then I can actually smell the secondhand smoke from, I think should be from my neighbor. And that kind of always irritates me. The secondhand smoke always kind of irritates me. And then it makes it very difficult for me to have compassion in such circumstances where, things really irks us and we really dislike it. So yeah, any advice how to manage? Thank you.
Yeah, this is a good question. Actually, this part we can also go back to the metta meditation, is that the last person or the last kind of groups that we can radiate the thought to is hostile persons. Why is this put the last? Because this could be the most difficult people to radiate the metta to, They smoke, and then not only they harm themselves, but they let other people to inhale the smokes as well. So it is, of course, we can say irresponsible. And to be honest, during the Hungry Ghost Festival, this is also can be quite sensitive. But a lot of people are burning stuff, and when I walk past through, I smell all the smoke, and then it was pretty irritating to me. And yeah, not only that, they don't clean up after they offer all those foods and all those burnings, and they let all the aunties and uncles to clean up for them. So that is also pretty irresponsible, I would say. But can we actually develop compassion for them? Maybe yes, but not as easy as one can to people who are not hostile, so to speak. Yeah. So yeah, how about others? Do you guys have anything to add on to Sing Hui's comments or questions? How do you actually overcome this kind of people? Jolene, yes.
So I have an uncle who loves to smoke. And Chinese New Year, he always liked to play mahjong. And then he will smoke, you know. And everybody else who is playing, you know, is sniffing his smoke, you know. Yeah, even he's playing mahjong. And one of the year, because many years already accumulated, right? So one of the year, I really feel that it's time. Even my parents didn't say anything. I need to do something. So I walk up to him. He's an uncle this year now about 78 years old, same age as my mom. And I walk up to him and say, Uncle, I know that this is something you really like to do, but actually the rest of the people around here, including the mahjong player and even myself sitting around here, we really cannot tahan the smoke. Yeah, it really makes my nose and my lungs feel like very sophisticated. Even I try and walk away and avoid you, but it fills up the house, the smell, and it does not go away. And that's why it is so difficult for me, and I believe the people around us. If you really want to smoke, can you take a break, go outside, smoke, and then you come back? Maybe you ask everybody at the player for a break. Maybe that's the best way to balance when you like to smoke and you like to play mahjong with your family. Is that okay? Yeah. So everybody very shocked, including my mom. Why you say that? You know, it's like very unpolite to an uncle. But I think compassion sometimes has its limits. And I have to step in to do something. I think he needs to be aware that what he does really affect a lot of people. And actually people don't like it. Maybe he didn't know. Because everybody like to be liked by other people, right? By human nature. Yeah. So by letting him know what he does, actually people start to not to like him. Hopefully that kind of like remind him lah. But say in a polite way still I didn't scold him, or I didn't like, wow, uncle, why you like that? No, but very nicely I say, he's like shocked lah, you know, like that. So that was how I handle it. But frankly, next year, when he come my house, he really didn't smoke. He go outside and smoke, like I said. He did it. So I praised him. I said, thank you for considering what I said to you. And he really did it. So actually, maybe everybody think, okay, very good. Maybe, I don't know. Or, you know, yeah.
Yes, that's good. And I think practically we should always tell people if they disturb others. I think like Jolene did. I think we should always tell them like, what you did actually harm others or disturb us at the very least. So in the best case, like Jolene, they really listen and they take the advice and then they stop doing that. That would be the best scenario. Yes. And I would encourage people to also do the same thing. Yeah. Even when my housemates, sometimes they forget to flush cleanly the toilets. I always tell them, hey, you forget to flush, please flush cleanly next time. But the second scenario, it could be that after telling them, not just one time, multiple times, they keep doing the same thing. So this will be probably the toughest challenge. Yeah. Then how? The problem is, firstly, we cannot control people. Then after we have done all we can in a worldly way, we have told them multiple times, they still do the same thing. This is where the challenge is in ourselves, that we have to, you know, radiate loving kindness or compassion towards this person. Yeah. And hopefully they will change someday. Yeah. And as I mentioned, it's not easy for sure. But that's the thing about Buddhism. It's not easy, but it is worth to do. So I'm not sure. Okay, Billy.
I really don't like to smell second hand smoke. So yeah, whenever, even if I'm not meditating, right, I'm outside, people smoke, immediately, anger arises.
Yes.
So I'm putting myself in Sister Xinghui's position. It's really difficult because when we're meditating, we are really concentrating on breath, right? In the next moment, it's just the smell that comes and the anger comes, how to focus. So I'm putting myself in a position. I'm thinking, okay, then we probably have to first tell ourselves, I can't walk away, right? So what happens? So it's like Shifu say, maybe we should treat it like just our pain in the knees, pain in the shoulders, bear with it, right? And think that it's impermanent, right? It will go away. He can't be smoking another one. So meanwhile, because it's difficult to also bring ourselves to immediately talk to him. He may not be an uncle, he may be a nasty person. So I think at that moment, just calm yourself down and think that it's a pain that you need to just bear with it. And the good thing is, it's better than pain in your knee because he may finish in the next 5 minutes and maybe 3 minutes. And it will just help you to focus, and as I think through this process, right, I was thinking maybe I would be thankful. I maybe be thankful to him that because of that foul smell, right, I can actually focus more on the breath because it's like in out, you can smell, then you actually can realize also that how much we attach to this body, that, the foulness is like, oh, it's so unhealthy, it's killing cells now, So I'm just imagining all these things because if I'm in that position, I think this will go through all these. And then the next thing is very interesting that I suddenly wish that, can he stop smoking? It's also for his own good. It's also for my good, Then suddenly this compassion or whatever, or loving kindness that comes about that we wish that he also can stop smoking for his own good. So I think by the time you go through this, right, Sister Xinghui, he would have finished smoking. So, and then you can, when we come down already, then we can start doing our loving kindness, compassion, dedication, or meditation to him. That's when I actually think about this process, if I'm in that position, because sometimes we go outside meditating, who knows there's another guy outside was smoking, right? So we need to handle the situation. That's my thought.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Yeah, and anyway, they are not supposed to smoke somewhere near inside, right? And you can raise a complaint maybe to the management or... Yeah, I don't know what's the rules here, but I have to say, I'm not sure many of you knows, but I was from Indonesia. Singapore is already heaven compared to Indonesia. In Indonesia, people just puff smokes anywhere they want. There's no, they don't care about anyone around it. So, I mean, I still hate smoke. That's why I think Singapore is a really good place. The way they manage smokers and the way they make the price so high and the way they enforce the rules that smokers have to be only in a very specific place. But of course, some people still smoke in their house, and then sometimes the smoke came up to others, the neighbors. Yeah. So one way is maybe, I mean, after you tell him nicely, maybe you can lodge a complaint to HDB or the management, the condo management, something like that. So.
Yeah, especially if every day it happens at this hour, then I think it's going to affect your meditation. Then maybe you need to probably lodge, if it's HDB, then maybe town council. Yeah, I think, yeah, they're not supposed to smoke in a compound. Yeah.
And actually, my unit here, the kitchen, it used to have an exhaust of a pipe that linked to outside. And then suddenly some neighbors complained that the smell is too much. And the owner came in and then they removed the exhaust pipe. Yeah. So I think it's possible to complain and get the owner or to do something about it. Yeah. Okay, I think for today we can, any comments or questions before we wrap up to add on to Xing Hui question maybe? Xing Hui, would you like to add anything? Are you staying in HDB or?
EC.
Oh, easy, okay. Yeah. Okay, if no comments before we wrap up, let's do a dedication. Dedication of merits. 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，实是常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a compassionate day ahead.